Another week on the RTF Show. I'm your host, Michael, here with Brother John. What's up, Brother John?
Hello. Happy to be here after a wild week of football.
A wild week indeed, and we've got a guest to suit just that adjective. In fact, I wore the Dennis Rodman jersey today, number 91, the Wild Man, in honor of our guest tonight, a guest who needs no introduction, but I'll give him an introduction anyway. A man who has more nicknames than the Worm himself, the Wild One, Wild Bill, the Goose, WJB, Hollywood Joe. It is all here. Here comes Bill Boylan. How's it going, Mr. William Boylan?
It's going great. I'm glad to
Welcome
be on the
to
show. Yeah, it's I'm a first time, long time.
Appreciate it. Thanks for hopping on here.
You gonna give your measurements like on the Dan Patrick Show?
If I did that, it would lead to nothing but disappointment. So we'll keep those private. But I'm very happy to be here.
So just to give some context to the rest of the league, Bill and I have known each other forever. He's a buddy of mine from way back when, back in the mean streets of Edgewater when we roamed around and did crazy shit in the beach, I guess. I don't know. But happy to have you here, William.
Like you're really underselling your wildness in high school, but
well,
go ahead.
We don't need to chronicle those days. But we will chronicle a few wild things that have happened both in the league and outside of it this week. We're gonna hit a couple different things today. So we'll give you a little Survivor update, some we'll look back at the week that was. We're going to hit some notes from the league. I've got a bit of an anecdote for you all about one John Gruden and the way in which he is tangentially related to some things that have happened in my life. And then after that, we're going to take a look at the bottom half of the league and kind of analyze what's gone wrong and how we might manufacture some moves for them to jump back into it. And I'm here with two guys who are down at the bottom of the league, so who better to do this with, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, we're perfect for this episode.
There you go. All right, well, let's get into it. John, give us a Survivor update.
All right, so we had another week, and another person is shipped off the island. That's going to be the average Peter Sullivan, clocking in at a cool 98.28, which the highest we've seen so far. The rest have all been in the 70s or 60s, which, now we're getting to that part of the season where you got to put up numbers to stay on the island. Quick anecdote here. Went back, looked at everybody's the low score for each week. Besides the first week in which Charlie was kicked off the island with the lowest score, Kelly, who was kicked off the second week, has scored the lowest score every week, except for the first. Obviously she was already off the island, but came in lower than Ken, who was kicked off that third week, lower than Bill, who was kicked off the fourth week, and lower than Peter this week with 70.42. So, really looking for Kelly to, we'll talk more about her team later, but to
we'll get into Kelly's team.
Score some extra points here. So.
Yeah, I'm sure she appreciates you rubbing salt in her wound, reminding her that she scored the lowest number of points in the league on a fairly consistent basis.
It's an absolute fiasco.
Including a real doozy this week, only putting up 59.56 or 58. Sorry, I don't want to, deny you those 0.02 points. All right. A couple other big things that happened this week. Big wins for both John Rose, who's here, over the Hollow Earthers. That was a kind of a big matchup for both of you.
I really, honestly,
Let's get the reaction.
One of those things where had I started the right players, it's just my season has been very frustrating. But
So
John, good game,
Thank
well
you.
deserved to win.
Yeah,
Chase,
the Claypool on
Chase-
your bench is a bummer.
yeah, the Chase Claypool on the bench is tough, but I mean, in the end, were you really going to start?
No,
You know,
not after
Chase
what
Claypool?
Big Ben has been doing, and
Yeah,
it's the same
exactly.
thing with Miles Gaskin. I mean, it's I dropped him, and of course Fitz
Yeah.
picks him up, and the guy goes off for 26 points.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the story of my season, but it is what it is, and
I mean, I think so. The takeaway here for me is you had guys that just, Adam Thielen scores kind of with his average, and you do fine. AJ Green, the same thing, and you probably win. On the other side of the ball, John, I mean, this was a victory, but if I were you, there's still some concerns. No
for
reason
sure.
you're not resting on your laurels over there.
No, I mean, Elliott put up a great game, and so did Kamara. But outside of that, I mean, Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen on the other side of the field. I mean, Kirk Cousins played terrible, which affected Thielen for Bill. But Tyreek Hill, I got a little banged up there. Casey looks like a mess. And then, having Kittle go out, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do to manufacture some wins coming up, but it's I'm playing Kelly this week, so.
Yep. There you go. All right. In other news in the league, another big victory this week for Ken, who gets his first win. This was a must-win game, Ken beating the average Peters. We'll talk a little bit about Ken's team in a minute, so I'm not going to linger on that. And then a really tough loss for Brendan on Monday night. He went into that game leading by 21 points, and I don't think anybody expected Mark Andrews to put up 38, and he just kept piling it on.
I will say, incredible.
And Andrews, didn't I traded him to you, didn't I?
Yes, you traded him to me.
For Gus Edwards and a Cole Kmet.
and $15 in waiver wire money, which is going to come into play here in a second. But
it will, because you're broke now.
Yes, exactly.
But you beat Brendan.
Oh man,
yes.
I will say that Monday night
for 1
game
week it was worth it.
Yeah, one of the best Monday night games.
And I have
of all time.
Yeah, that was certainly quite a game.
It was unreal. Yeah. All right. The only other thing, no, I think we'll leave it there for the week in the league. Let's do a quick check-in on our AI power rankings. At this point, Kelly securely, I think, in 12th at 1-4, lowest average. Are they not up?
No, they're not up.
Oh no.
Let me switch it back over here. Can you see it now?
Yep.
Yes.
Kelly is at 1-4. Kelly at 1-4 with the lowest weekly point total by far at 79.8 points per game. Bill following right behind at 1-4. Charlie at 2-3. Ken at 1-4. The average Peters take a nosedive this week with that loss down to 8th place at 3-2. John moves up 1 to 7th place at 2-3. Brendan 6th at 3-2. Josh 5th at 3-2. Steve 4th at 2-3. He was in the 2 spot for quite a while and finally dropped down after a couple losses. Alec jumps up big time. He's sitting at 4-1 right now. Huge victory for him. He's in 3rd place. I myself sit in 2nd at 4-1, and the Alpha Peter on top at 4-1.
We gotta knock this guy down. This is ridiculous. For
Yeah,
a
I'm coming for
year
the Alpha
and
Peter
a
this week.
quarter, this guy is sat up there.
Yep.
Now holding his trophy with his fake, strong man suit.
What do you mean?
Ridiculous. His photo, like it's like a fake. It's one of those strong man like.
What do you mean?
Halloween suits.
It's fake?
Oh yeah, sorry. You didn't know that he's not that strong.
That's not
not
Peter's natural bod.
It's not actually him. Yes, that's sorry to burst your bubble there.
I don't know.
He does work out though, so.
I mean,
so is the Alpha Peter a fraud? Is that what we're?
That's kind of what we're unearthing here.
I think it's fair to say.
Is that what the Hollow Earthers are unearthing? Speaking of which, I did change my name. I figured the reason why I was losing was because I was Hollow Earthers 2020. So I changed it to 2020-21. So we'll see how this week goes.
I like it.
I like it. I do too. It's that's a good name change. Way to be current, though. Way to be current. All right. That is your power rankings for the week.
Yeah. Do you guys want a chance to say anything about the White Sox before we really dive into?
Honestly, I mean, I'll let Bill speak on the White Sox.
When I saw that, I mean, I knew from the get-go it was going to be, once I found out we were going to be playing at Astros, I knew we were going to lose, to be quite honest with you. The Astros have our number. They've been there, they've done that. White Sox haven't. And it was
good.
Anytime, like this whole season, when we played Houston in Houston, they throttled us. I mean, I knew it was going to turn out to be quite honest with you. I had no faith, and it's unfortunate. We just need to grow as a team and get better. We were the only team that made the playoffs that was in like the bottom quarter of the league with, I think the stat was like ground balls hit. Like,
yeah. They have a very uneven lineup. And by uneven, I mean there are days, and they're usually days at home, where everything is clicking. And when one person can't get going or two people can't get going, it's like it trickles throughout the team.
Nobody
it just kills any momentum.
That's how it was. I knew going into this series it wasn't going to be good. I didn't vocalize it, but I knew we were not going to make it out of the series.
It was it's a rough way to end it. But thanks, John, for bringing the pain. I appreciate it.
Just I figured it'd be a little therapeutic for you guys to voice some of this. You've got
sure.
I think I have to go to therapy now that I've talked about it.
Yep. That's how I feel.
I'm sorry for your loss. Move on.
All right, let's move on. We don't want the show to be a downer. We got a couple exciting things coming up. Maybe none more than the waiver wire.
My favorite segment.
And
right.
I want to.
There's
there's a couple things I want to highlight. We'll start with kind of the least contested one, which was surprising. I thought there would be a little bit more push for Kadarius Toney. Steve ends up winning Kadarius Toney $19 over Portugal the Ken, who bid $11. Kadarius Toney looking like a lot more than just a gadget player for the Giants.
Yeah.
That guy's all over the field, and really looks like he's the real deal, which is good because they drafted him in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, considering that none of their wide receivers can stay healthier for longer than 2 or 3 game stretches. He's seeing a lot of playing time, and he's going to continue to see that despite, I think, Sterling Shepard practice this week and is supposed to be back. And so Yes, apparently the league's not going to suspend him for throwing the punch, which
Wait,
surprised
what
me.
did he do?
Well, he
threw a
got
punch?
ejected last week, after putting up
I
190
didn't see
yards.
that.
Yeah, he got ejected because he tried to punch someone.
That always
I didn't
works in
actually
an
see the video,
NFL
but-
game when everyone's wearing helmets.
It's a great way to show somebody I don't give a shit about breaking my hand. I fucking hate your guts.
Yeah.
Makes no sense when you do that.
But yeah, I mean, with how much fab money is still on the table, even after this week, I was expecting
The
some people to go a little bit
$66, Mike. I mean,
all right,
I'll tell
let's
you
do
what.
it.
I
Let's
put
do it.
Let's get into
45 down. I put 45 down. I think it was 45, and I thought that was a
Yeah,
lot. But I think you could have got him for even 55. I mean, what were the
So-
numbers reflecting?
So
I see it.
66
It's
was
up.
$21. It's up on the board.
Oh,
$66 was $21 above your offer, Bill, which was the next highest offer at 45. Here was my thing. I looked at my team, and the rest of my running backs are fucking garbage. I have Hines.
Yeah, you and me both.
I've got Hines, I've got Drake, and I've got Madison, who's fucking awesome, but is only going to play when Cook is out. And that's about it. And so I had to have the running back. And I looked at, Bill, I looked at your team because I knew you were looking for a running back. And I was like, how many fab dollars does WJB have? He's got 66 fab dollars.
I was going to get essentially, 3/4 of my fab.
Yeah.
towards it.
So my thinking was, I'm just going to make sure I outbid Bill and get him. But
I mean, it's a smart move. I mean,
Yeah, no, I mean,
that's
it's
how you get it.
You
I've
did
got-
it the right way. If
I've now-
if I
I've now
looked
got
at this and I
$2.
saw that it was, yeah, I mean, yeah, hats off.
I mean,
to
you could
I
trade
wanted-
someone for some
So,
fab money. but-
I'll say it here. Madison is available for fab money for whoever is interested.
I think Kelly should jump on that.
I sent
with
Kelly a
Cook,
message
but-
today. Anybody else on my team who's
What's interesting
on the bench.
is how little Booker went much cheaper. Now the
Yeah.
timeline of Saquon Barkley's departure is going to be I think they're expecting 2 to 3 weeks, but I think also a lot of people are under the impression that Booker's not nearly as good of a backup as Darrell Williams is to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but
I think the hope is also right that Darrell Williams is in what I think people still assume will end up being one of the best offenses in football. And so he's going to benefit from that.
Well,
Marlon
Mack, I mean, everyone's talking about Marlon Mack getting traded to Kansas City to replace Darrell Williams. So that could throw a wrench in things too.
Trades off, Bill.
That would really upset me.
I mean, Marlon Mack's also an unknown, Achilles injury. You don't know. He looked good on Monday night though.
I think he's.
I honestly don't see that I don't see that happening. John, as much as I am interested in that, my only hesitation in pulling the trigger on a trade is the fact that I don't see him actually. A big part of me doesn't see him getting traded. I mean, I think Indianapolis is gonna, they're gonna stay firm and just say that
For sure.
we're gonna hold on.
Well, and I think one of the big things is generally, when someone gets this injury or an injury like this, they get released, right? So teams can then bring in that player and work them out themselves and see kind of what condition they are in on their own. But Indianapolis hasn't done that. So essentially a team would need to trade away a 6th-round draft pick for Marlon Mack without really knowing what kind of, besides maybe a physical and whatever game tape they have of him this year, they don't know,
Yep.
So I think it's probably, you're right. It's unlikely. And like teams that need running backs have already made sort of, they brought in players. They're, San Francisco, Baltimore, so they made the moves that they need, that they feel comfortable making at this point. So it's hard to say what they'll do with Mac. But
Agreed.
I thought Devontae Booker was going to go for. I mean, I was close to.
You only bid 26.
Yeah, I mean, I was hedging my bets. I wasn't sure. I mean, I figured both of those guys were going to go for a ton, so I didn't want to do. I only have $50 left, so.
You weren't willing to dip your toe all the way in?
No, I figured both of them, because how much fab money everyone still has. There's plenty of people 70, 80, 90, 100. Charlie's got 126 bucks.
I mean, now that we have a 17-game season, I haven't looked at the Constitution, but I'm assuming the playoffs and our regular season has shifted.
Yep.
Again, we have a 14-game regular season.
Yeah,
now.
so I think that comes. I mean, that certainly comes into play with waiver wire money, and that one extra game is is a big deal. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah, essentially we've split now what we had $100 in fab money for a 13-game regular season, 16-game total season.
Yep.
For $100, and now we didn't adjust the fab money,
which is fine
for that,
because you need to test it out first. You need to test it out before we make any long-term plans. Yeah.
But you need fab money. You can't do $0 bids. So
let's move on. I want to hit one quick thing, Bill. I just want to give you a shout out. The second most contested player was Indianapolis's defense, and the Hollow Earthers got their man, never failing to gather a defense, willing to go above and beyond, spend that $5. I love it.
So the great Dominic Toretto from the Fast and Furious documentaries once said, he lives his life a quarter mile at a time. I like to think that I live my life one defense on a week-to-week basis. And I think it's displayed itself here. This is a perfect. I mean, you got to do it. That's what you have to do. You got to play the defenses 1 week at a time.
You've got an identity, and the identity, that's what it's all about.
That's the only way to win in fantasy football, and that's why I have a 1-4 record.
All right, let's move on from the waiver wire. I'm gonna close it down here and stop sharing for a second. All right. So big news of the week was John Gruden. John Gruden gets ousted by the Raiders. Well, resigns, but essentially is forced out by the Raiders, which I would imagine has to do something with his salary, is why they didn't fire him and instead forced him into a resignation, so they can void some of that money. But
look, you come at the king, you best not miss. And when you come for Roger Goodell, everyone misses, and everyone pays the price for coming at Goodell.
For sure. So, you wonder why it took so long, because they clearly knew about this a while ago. Obviously referring to the emails, the homophobic, racist, misogynistic remarks, that there was a clear pattern of. The story that I teased. So John, you know Bill, you know my lovely wife Barbara. In a former life, she's now a kindergarten teacher, but in a former life was a employee of the fine dining establishment known as Hooters, in several different capacities, both as a Hooters girl, a waitress, but then eventually climbed her way up the corporate ladder in Hooters to become the head of recruiting for the Chicagoland area. And this job she got by writing a memo to the CEO of the company about essentially kind of like her recruitment strategies, what they would be, and the importance of the type of recruiting she was looking to do. And apparently, this memo was shared with the one, the only Mr. John Gruden. In fact, the initiative that they put into place was called the Gruden Initiative. To recruit more talented Hooters girls in the Chicagoland area.
Oh my God.
Because according to John Gruden, after coming into Chicago for a Monday night game and going to the downtown Chicago Hooters location, he and that dude from the Orange Bowl and I think John Gruden's father was there, all remarked to the CEO about the lack of talent that was available at the Chicagoland Hooters location. All of this documented in emails from that guy. I can't remember his name right now, the head of Hooters, who is also mentioned in these emails and was a part of these emails from Gruden. But it was really, to see his name flash across the screen and to see those remarks, it just immediately brought back that conversation of him, bemoaning the level of talent.
Are we able to
Hooters?
Are we able to get a live a live reaction from Barbara here on the Gruden firing? I mean, he's responsible for her job, her promotion within the corporate ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Where is she? Like, how does she feel about this situation?
She wants no part of this show.
I'll tell you this. Knowing what Mike just shared with us, I know the timeline of which I know the girls that work there that Mike is referencing. I know a lot of them.
Yeah, you did.
And
I think Bill's about to incriminate himself.
What's interesting is that
over your shoulder,
the women that worked there during those times were wonderful women. I can't believe this, Mike. That's incredible.
Isn't it hilarious? Isn't it hilarious?
I mean, they were basically all at our apartment when we had that one Halloween party.
I know. These are, yes, it is that crew of Hooters girls, which I will say at that Halloween party, we're roundly applauded by the other guests there as being quite talented. So yes, I think it was. It's pretty. It's a pretty wild.
Maybe John Gruden just has the wrong taste, and our friends have the right taste.
It is possible. It is possible. I would say actually, it's likely that John Gruden has bad taste in most things. All right, let's leave it there.
I can't believe that story.
I know. Let's leave it there before we get into any more trouble. I don't know, I don't know who's watching this this show. We'll leave it there. The rest of this, how this affects the Raiders going forward, what this means for that team.
Sell off. I mean, I got Ruggs. Anyone want them? I mean, sell all.
I have to like, it's hard to know what to make of this, right? Like there's some very fantasy relevant players on their team in Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs, Ruggs hoping to have a breakout season. It's hard to imagine that a guy like Waller at least takes a giant step back from this, but who knows what direction they're going in. I mean, Derek Carr likely is going to lose his job because of this, I would imagine. Like, they're going to hire a new coach. That coach is going to have a lot of say in personnel, because as it stands right now, it doesn't sound like the Raiders really trust their GM. They gave John Gruden all the personnel power. So, John Gruden had final say in all the draft picks, all the trades, all the free agent signings. So I just don't know. You imagine a new coach coming in is going to want their own quarterback.
Yeah, I can see that. And I think, but Josh Jacobs, and Kenyon Drake there, like, if they start to move towards a more run-heavy script, are you going to see a bit more of a timeshare where Josh Jacobs' fantasy relevancy goes down a bit? I don't think that really means Kenyon Drake's fantasy relevancy goes up, but
nope.
They also had
Agreed.
Who's the other running back that they have that when Josh Jacobs went out?
Oh yeah.
No.
No, I can't remember who it was.
Not Rashad Penny. Anyway, there's.
Yeah, I mean, they had somebody slid in, grabbed those carries.
Yeah, I can't remember who that was, but yeah, in general, and then none of the wide receivers have sort of made themselves relevant. Henry Ruggs is touchdown or bust. Braylon Edwards is completely irrelevant. What we thought he was going to be pretty good, but yeah. So, I don't see that being. And Derek Carr is who we thought he was and is.
Trash. All right. We're going to skip the rest of there were some major injuries. I'll just mention them. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, obviously going out. We talked about Saquon going down. Russell Wilson still out. Daniel Jones.
That Russell Wilson injury?
Down.
Gross.
Yeah, not great.
How about Geno, though? How about Geno Smith coming in? He looked pretty good.
All right, sure.
Really threw that interception.
Well, that interception wasn't his fault.
It wasn't his fault. He looked pretty good. Good.
And then, the other two, the big running backs, CMC, Cook, we'll see if they end up playing this week. Cook, hopefully not for my sake, but all right. Let's get to the reason we're here.
Yep.
As Bill, what are you drinking back there?
A little bit of bourbon.
So, well, I know it's bourbon. What's the flavor of the night?
Tonight is E.H. Taylor Single Barrel.
All right.
It's one of my favorites.
Okay. Let's dive into what we said we were going to do at the top, and that's look at the bottom half of the league. We won't spend too long on each team. We're going to try to get through this somewhat quickly, but just want to look at the bottom teams and see if we can't come up with some solutions to them, talk about their holes, and maybe where they can go to fix said holes. So let's start with the man of the hour, William Boylan, the man who's here with us. Bill, we're going to pull up your team right
Sure.
now. Do you want John and I to kind of, tear your team apart and talk about your weaknesses, and you can react, or do you want to go first and we'll tell you what we think?
Let me go first. So,
Okay, go for it.
I take control here. No. Can you scroll on a little bit?
Yep.
All right. So, the last 2 weeks, I was really hell bent on trying to figure out my running back situation, and I wasn't able to figure it out. And that's been my biggest weakness so far. But now, where we are in the schedule, I have both of my IR wide receivers coming back into duty. So I feel like I have some good trade bait where I can release some of my wide receivers, maybe try and pick up a quality running back. But really what it is, injuries hurt me. The trade, Mike, you and I made.
That was huge.
Obviously it was great, and it was, I feel like it was a great trade, and obviously circumstance.
Yeah. It's a tough one to swallow.
Worked against my favor. Yep. And I really think the big downfall of my team is the running back situation, and that goes back to the draft. I just drafted the wrong guys, and I did draft some of the right guys, but they just performed in off situations like Myles Gaskin.
Yeah.
Tight end situation isn't solid, but that really isn't a huge contributing factor on a week-to-week basis. I mean, we're talking about a plus or minus point-wise, maybe +2, -2 on a weekly basis when it comes to the best to the worst. But
yeah.
So yeah, I'll jump in real quick and
sure.
Let's see here. So you do have some very good trade pieces, right? And I do feel like, Zach Moss, he looked really good on Sunday and was playing most of the game instead of Devin Singletary. And so with Buffalo being as good as they are, we're going to see them in a positive game script, right? So I think Zach Moss is going to continue to produce and be a solid RB2 for you. So there's a little hope there. And then with Chase Claypool, with Juju going down, Chase Claypool saw solid production last week. And I think if he has another good week this week, I think that is a piece that you could easily flip.
The thing that worries me is that Big Ben did not participate today. So he was on the injury report.
Another thing, is Mike Gesicki's had a couple bad weeks, but Tua's supposed to be coming back either this week or next week, and I think, and with Fuller being out, Devontae Parker being injured, I think Gesicki's going to continue to see like 7, 8, 9 targets a game. So hopefully you don't have to go hunting for a tight end at that point. And Judy coming back, and if Landry comes back, that Browns offense, they're gonna need some wide receivers, and OBJ has been terrible. And so I can see Landry stepping into a solid role there. And so the worst thing that, worst comes to worst, I think what you may end up having to do is to, you kept Josh Allen, huh? So you never really want to trade away.
Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go undefeated the rest of the year. So I'll make it into the playoffs and then win the championship.
That sounds perfect.
There you go. I've got one idea for you. It involves working with the average Peters. It would involve you releasing Josh Allen to the average, or not releasing, but trading Josh Allen to the average Peters in exchange for a guy like Joe Burrow. This would obviously give Peter two top-tier quarterbacks, but he already has two top-tier quarterbacks, one of which just got hurt. But I think, Josh Allen is a much bigger name. And then you detach one of your, maybe high-end wide receivers. So maybe a guy like Chase Claypool to help Pete out, because I think that's one of the areas that Pete's team is weak, is in the wide receiver category. So send over Chase Claypool, take back a guy like Kareem Hunt or Miles Sanders. That would be my little, back of the napkin trade to help both you out.
Who does Bill get? Just
so
Kareem
Bill Hunt? Bill gets
and Joe Burrow.
And Joe Burrow. And
but you've got Josh Allen on a 3-year deal, right?
I do. And
that deal would be traded with Josh or to Pete. And if he trades back Joe Burrow, didn't Pete keep Joe Burrow? Or did he pick him up?
No, he didn't. I don't think he did. But that's the thing is, does Bill want to actually give up a great deal on Josh Allen for this, just to try and produce this year, or would he rather keep him? Because that kind of rolls into when I was looking at Kelly's team.
Yeah, let's get to Kelly's team.
What some options would be for that, and obviously her best player is Dalvin Cook, who she kept on a 3-year deal. Which I don't. When you're looking to trade for him, do you want? I was looking at her team, right, and I was thinking like, okay, it'd be great to have Dalvin Cook. Like, could I give her 2 very good or serviceable pieces? But that would require me then I would have Kamara's contract and Cook's contract. So to keep that in mind, looking at her team, I think she also kept TJ Hawkinson for 3 years, who had a great first few weeks and then has been terrible dealing with an injury, but also terrible.
She has I've never looked at her team. She's got a pretty good team.
She's got some good names on her team. It just has not come together for her. I mean,
Cooper's been interesting.
Cooper had a huge first week and then nothing.
Lawrence and Donald is a bit of an issue, but the rest of everybody else is kind of amazing that she is. Her team is as it.
I mean,
they should be better than me.
the biggest thing to keep in mind, I think, with Kelly's team is just that Dalvin Cook has been injured now 2 weeks, and wasn't I think exactly himself in the game that he did play. So you'd really count 3 weeks of injury for Dalvin Cook, and I
think they said today that he's going to play this week. At least he was active today, I think.
He should play this week. He will likely play. I mean, maybe if things don't progress, they hold him out because they have a bye week next week, but I'm sure he'll play. Yeah. So John, you were saying Kelly can make what was the move you had?
Well, yeah, I think, I don't think giving up Dalvin Cook's the right move, and I think Hawkinson should be trading at his lowest value right now. Mm-hmm. But I think you could still, in theory, move Amari Cooper based on his name and how good that offense is, and he has scored a touchdown the last few games, but he has not put up the amount of yards that you would usually, that we would expect to see from him, right? So, like you can see on the screen, he's only broken 100 in that first week, which he did sustain a little bit of an injury there. But you can move someone like Amari Cooper for, someone in that range of like Chris Carson, Leonard Fournette, Chase Edmonds, Josh Jacobs. If you found someone that would be willing to do that sort of 1-to-1 trade, and if not, then she would have to, Elijah Mitchell is still a possibility to move. And unfortunately, the rest of her bench is, Hunter Henry's up and down. Robbie Anderson, I thought Robbie Anderson was going to be a great play this year, but it's been terrible.
Maybe
so far,
maybe the move is somewhere with you, William. Maybe two bad teams get together to make two good teams. You look at her quarterback situation and try to improve it. Although giving up Josh Allen again is going to be an issue, but and take one of her premier running backs. Maybe just do a swap. Who knows? But I think
it's tough.
I think it's going to be hard for Kelly to pull out of this kind of tailspin, especially if Dalvin Cook has a lingering injury the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's hard to say. I don't know if there's Trevor Lawrence. I don't think she wants to trade away because, again, she gets him on a cheap deal. That's a lot of future value there. So.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the problem for Kelly's team is those tradable assets. She just doesn't have many at this point.
And all of them are the best two are under contract. So
yeah. All right. Let's go ahead. We've done Bill. We've done Kelly. Let's do Ken's real quick, and then we'll hit up two more, and then we'll get out of here. So Ken's team. I think Ken's team is actually pretty good. I think it's underperformed of late. He's got three very good wide receivers in DK Metcalf, Mike Williams. He's got four in DK Metcalf, Mike Williams, Robert Woods, and Calvin Ridley. My suggestion here would have been, instead of kind of, spending the fab to get somebody like Devontae Booker, is moving one of those guys, especially a guy like Mike Williams, whose value could not be higher at this moment, for a running back. And there are teams in this league that are running back heavy. We just talked about one of them, right? The Average Peters. They've got several guys that are tradable for. In Najee Harris, Saquon Barkley, Kareem Hunt, Miles Sanders, all running backs, I think, that are worthy of targeting if you're Ken. And
totally agree.
I mean, that would
it's
be
shocking to me
my
that,
picks for Ken.
We've been saying this though for three weeks now. After Ken started 0-2, we looked at his team. We said, there's plenty of wide receivers here that you need to trade away. And I just don't know what his hesitancy is. Has he reached out to people? Have people reached out to him? I don't really have any assets to trade, so I'm not having that dialogue with him. But at some point, you got to pull the trigger. And, whether you think maybe you're losing, like with the Average Peters, who before Russell Wilson went down, you had Lamar Jackson, you had Russell Wilson. Trading one of those away for someone like Mike Williams or Robert Woods or Mike Williams, Robert Woods, Devonta Smith has been great. He's got Calvin Ridley sitting there, who, will eventually have some positive regression, right? Like, Calvin Ridley will start to catch some of those deep balls that are thrown his way. It'll happen. You have these players. Is sending Calvin Ridley for, Tom Brady or Russell Wilson or Lamar Jackson maybe a slight overpay? Maybe, but at this point, you need the production in your starting lineup, not sitting on your bench.
Yeah, I think this is a prime time to trade out Bobby Trees, aka Robert Woods.
Yep. Yeah, agreed.
Like, it's you've even got Michael Thomas sitting there. Like, when Michael Thomas comes back, will he get playing time above DK Metcalf and Mike Williams? And let's say Calvin Ridley starts producing at that point. Probably not. Like, at that point, there's not enough spots for Ken. And Ken, there's plenty of running backs. There's good quarterbacks out there.
All right.
May lose the trade, but you're going to win because of making that trade. So,
all right, let's move on to our next team on the list. We're just going to do a couple more of these. We did Ken, we did Kelly, we did Bill. John, will save you for last. Let's do Charlie.
yeah.
I think Charlie's fair, just in terms of, let's do Charlie.
Let's do Charlie. I mean, which he could have come over the top on everyone for running backs this week.
No, I know. I was going to say we could do, Steve is technically like 8th in the league, but I think Steve's team is better than it appears on paper.
His team is so good.
His record.
He's ran out to a couple buzzsaws, but his team is so good.
All right. Team Charlie, based around the Green Bay Packers, whether that be current Packers players or former Packers players like Jamal Williams. There's a lot of room for improvement, and Charlie knows this. I've told it to him to his face. 3 quarterbacks, 3 tight ends. One of those things has to change, preferably both of them. So, one of these teams without a quarterback, Tom Brady is very tradable at this point. Aaron Rodgers, still tradable at this point. The unfortunate thing for Charlie is all 3 of his tight ends are not very tradable.
No, I mean
they're not in the upper echelon of tight ends.
No, but
unless your guy is in the upper echelon of tight ends, he's not really a tradable asset.
No, but I think as far as like throwing in some extra pieces, like I've been playing the waiver wire as far as tight ends. I've sent Charlie trades. I've reached out to him, texted him. I've talked to him to his face about it, and he just doesn't respond to my trade offers of for Jared Cook or Evan Ingram. But there are assets that you could throw into someone who might be tight end needy to get that across the finish line, right? But I do agree. I mean, Tom Brady's. He's going to be great all year. So you want to trade him for someone that can fill your wide receiver 2 spot. You're going to put in your Brandon Cooks, and then he needs someone else to fill that flex spot with Galladay being injured. Melvin Gordon is okay, but will he put it as more points than Jamal Williams? Maybe not. But you got people that you could trade here, and so right now, go ahead.
I feel like, you always put yourself in a tough situation when you have 2 top 10 wide receivers, or I'm sorry, quarterbacks on your team. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a huge mistake that fantasy football players make. And in this situation with this team, it's obviously Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, but Aaron Rodgers' offense has kind of looked weird. Tom Brady's offense has looked on point. He's got to trade one of them. And unfortunately, he's not going to get fair market value for either one of them.
No.
Because he has to move them.
Yeah. You're not going to get equivalent to, what you would spend, whatever you spent on Tom Brady or whatever you spent on Aaron Rodgers. Like, you're not going to get the equivalent back in a running back or a wide receiver. It's just not going to happen. But there is no value in holding a guy like Tom Brady on your bench every week.
Yep.
Yeah,
he's not helping.
He needed to move one of them like last week,
2
weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, the longer he holds on to him, the less he's going to get. He's got to move him now.
When you're sitting on someone, so Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and then Sully's got Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson, right? So right there, you've got 4 of
Clearly,
the top
there's a need.
8 quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah.
Now, when you're looking at that, and you're like, okay, top four of the 8 in their position, you think, okay, well, if you look at running back or wide receiver, 4 of the top 8 there, you're looking at players like Nick Chubb, Alvin Kamara, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs. You're not getting those guys in return for those quarterbacks. You have to look a little bit further down the line. For someone like Tom Brady, you might be able to get a T. Higgins or a Chase Claypool or a Damian Harris or Javonte Williams or Chase Edmonds. But you're not getting Barkley, you're not getting Jonathan Taylor, you're not getting Cooper Kupp or DJ Moore.
No, but maybe he could get somebody like Devonta Smith
if he made the move now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Or a week ago. Or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, even better than
Robert
Devonta
Woods,
Smith or Robert
But
Woods.
there's-
That
Yeah,
seems
Bobby
totally
Cruz.
fair. That seems Tom Brady for Robert Woods seems like a great trade for both of them to make.
But there's no point in holding on to these players for this long. For both of those guys this long.
Agreed. All right, let's do one final team. John, we'll take a quick peek at yours. Down at the bottom of the barrel.
I mean, I've put up a lot of points, and I've had the most points scored against me. So, I like Steve. I take exception to my record.
Classic excuse.
Um,
Most points scored against me.
It's a real thing. It's an issue.
I mean, I think the biggest thing for you, obviously, you've got a tight end hole the size of George Kittle, and your running back situation is extremely solid up front, and so is your wide receiver situation. But the drop off at the flex spot, I think, is what would be most concerning to me.
Okay.
So you've got 2 top tier running backs, 2 top tier wide receivers, and then a bit of a drop off at flex.
Yeah, it's really bad. My bench is terrible, and I don't really feel like moving any of my top tier guys. So when you're looking at my bench, Darnell Mooney is someone who
some of those guys
tried to move,
okay for a little bit, like with Chuba and Kamara and
they've
Chuba,
all looked great.
And Kittle. Actually, you've been the recipient of some bad luck, it appears.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. I don't like to attribute it to luck, but I do feel like I've gotten unlucky. I've got 2 of the better teams in my division here, just like you do. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to move Mooney, but I'm also willing to. I would like to keep him because
nobody's going to take Mooney right now, man.
He's good.
There's no reason
good in the future.
You don't take any Bears fighter cut them all. You can't.
Yeah,
I mean, he could be wide receiver 1 next year. So I want to hold on to him, but that even limits me even further, right? So, I'm kind of just stuck with who I have. I would like to get a different quarterback, but the waiver wire has plenty of decent enough quarterbacks that I think would.
Wait, scroll back up. Who's your quarterback?
Kirk
I don't
Cousins.
think trading. I'm going to be able to do any trade. So if you wanted to look at a different team, that's fine.
Well, Cousins had a bad week last week. I mean, they just had a brand new buzzsaw.
I mean, Cousins,
2 bad weweeks. 2 bad weeks.
Cousins has had 2 bad weeks, but Cousins is generally a fine quarterback, and I think he'll be okay for you. I would try to clean up your tight end, your flex spot.
Well, right. What am I tight end? What am I going to do? I mean,
I don't know.
Well, I want to trade Kittle. If anyone
wants
Kittle,
I don't even know who the fuck Ross Dwelly is. I've never heard of this guy.
It's Kittle's backup.
Dwelly? Dwell?
Dwelly.
All right. On that note, we're gonna end it there. Next week coming up, we've got divisional matchups. Actually, we've just got 2 divisions facing off. Sorry, not divisional matchups. We've got interdivision matchups, but we've got two divisions facing off against another two divisions. It is the Ryan division, which is Brendan, Steve, and John, versus the Dicka division, the worst division in football, housed by Charlie, Ken, and Kelly. So, this could be a big week for your division. We'll see. And then, Slaughterfest. That's not going to come back to my team. Yes. Then
definitely losing to Kelly.
My division, the Hallis division, which includes Bill and Josh. We are faced off against the Lovey division, the Peters and Alec, the best division in the league, with two teams at 4-1 and one team at 3-2. So I think there's going to be some clarity in who's for real, who is not, and who's stuck at the bottom and who's going to make their way to the top. But we'll see what happens, and we'll be back next week to discuss. I may or may not have hair on my left hand, but here's the hand.
Yeah, let's see it. I mean, that's not that bad. That's gonna be bad.
No, it's not that bad. Peter's is way worse.
Peter's a very hairy man. Yes. He's very hairy.
I feel bad for Peter. It's
yeah.
Peter, if Peter loses, it's going to be noticeable.
It's going to be very embarrassing, and he works around college students, so I will definitely.
So do I.
Oh yeah, that's right. You did too. I forgot about that. Both of you guys, weirdos. You better watch out though, because Peter has already got texts lined up to mom and dad about, you should ask Michael about his hands and
I'm sure he does.
Yeah. You better watch out.
All right. For John, for Bill, thank you for coming on and doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Yes,
really
great.
appreciate it.
Loved it.
For the two of you, I'm your host, Michael. I will be back next week with John. We'll break down some more of the RTFL. But for now, this has been the RTF Show.
Adios, guys.
Peace.